Okay everyone, it's time for your English lesson. Today we're going to be writing our draft that we started planning last week. Now I know none of you have your plans at home, but we've made it a bit easier for you. So before we had four arguments in our plan. We've just narrowed this down to three now. So you're going to be doing paragraph 1, opening with a rhetorical question to engage the reader and encourage them to think from your perspective. So you could say, did you know that 5 out of 6 mechanicals wish they had a different line of work? Or you could say, are you aware that your mechanical likes being a servant for you? Okay, so it depends on your point of view. Are you against mechanicals being used in the home, or are you for mechanicals being used in the home? That needs to be clear in your first paragraph, okay? Then we've got your second paragraph, so it's your opener to build on your point of view. So we said in class that we were going to do the arguments where if you were for mechanicals being used in the home, you were going to talk about them being servants, okay? How they like being servants, how it's cheap labour, how they can do all the things you don't want them to do, you don't want to do yourself. Why aren't you changing colour? Got you. Okay. Whereas we said if you were against using mechanicals in the home, we were going to talk about how they have free will. They should be able to choose their own path in life. So it depends on what your view is. And then you'd move on to paragraph 3. Secondly, so you're going to build on your previous point. So if you were a for person, you would now move on to the positives. So you could talk about the positives of them being in the home. You could talk about how they're, again, able to do things you can't do and give examples, build on that first point you made. You could talk about how they like being servants, get a bit of a statistic in there. In a recent survey, 95% of mechanicals liked doing the jobs we don't want to do. You could include an anecdote that further backs up what you're trying to say. If you were against them being in the household, you could talk about their dangers. So a lot of you talked about how they need oil to work, and that if that's the case, they could ruin your carpets by dripping oil. One of you made a point where if you had a priceless family photo and they were picking it up and they got oil on it, it would ruin it. That was really good. And then your fourth paragraph is your third point of view. My point of view is right because, tell me why it's right. You can include another professional opinion with lots of facts, more statistics. We said you could talk about how if you're for mechanicals, that they're cheap. So you could say once you've brought one, you don't have to buy one again. It's cheaper than hiring lots of different people to do lots of different jobs because a mechanical can do all of them. And we said if you were against, you could talk about how they're expensive to maintain because they're made up of those tiny delicate parts. If one breaks, you've got to then wait for it to be repaired before they can carry on with their jobs. And then your final paragraph is it's your summing up. Okay? So use your emotive language, really make the reader connect with you. I might say, in conclusion, it is clear to see that these poor, lovable mechanicals in conclusion, it's clear to see these poor, lovable mechanicals are the victims of our own laziness and selfishness. Is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. In conclusion, it's clear to see that these poor lovable mechanicals are the victims of our own laziness and selfishness. Okay, so I'm using emotive language for an against argument. I'm making the reader emphasize. I'm making the reader think about their own actions. I could, if I'm the for argument, I could say, turn that to blue. In conclusion, you can see how having a hard-working, talented mechanical can enrich your life and leave you with the time to do all the things you want. And I'd carry on from there. Okay, so remember, this is your title. Should mechanicals be used in the home? Use the structure to help you with your paragraphs. Don't forget these ideas for your paragraphs. And best of luck. I can't wait to see what you draft. Have fun.